Hi guys, it's Blackie. Okay, recently one of my subscribers was very kind to me and sent me a Christmas present. He sent me a copy of the Making the Skin Cartridges book by W.J.L. Schroeder. Okay, and there's the ISBN number. Now what this is back during the day of Civil War and immediately after. Not only were there paper cartridges, there were skin cartridges as well, because they would take intestine or very fine thin skin and they would form a cartridge case in order to put in the powder and put the ball in, glue it in place, and then they would shellac the outside of it to try to make a more water repellent cartridge than say a paper cartridge. And they had very good success with this. Most time here in modern times we don't mess with that. We just do paper cartridges. But this is a very viable way to do it if you're willing to do a little bit of handwork. It's simply a mandrel, a former, prepping your casings, which are sausage casings, and they're readily available, pre-cleaned and ready to go for you, and he tells you how you can find those. The author does a very good job with this. Now this is not a lengthy read. It's got a lot of good information. He goes in depth, but I read this easily in one night. And I feel that with this, you would be armed with a good working knowledge to get started. But as the author points out, it's hands-on stuff. The experience you're going to need is going to be hands-on to figure it out. Because you can do it by the book and there's still going to be a flaw here or there. You got to learn how to troubleshoot for yourself, know how much tension and things like that. And I really applaud this author for doing that, because he's cutting the BS out and just telling you straight up. You know, I have not messed with skin cartridges before. I've known people who did back in the day, but they didn't follow this procedure. I knew a gentleman many years ago who was taking the intestines out of fish, catfish intestines, which are pretty springy, and he would basically make twist cartridges out of that. He would press the bullet in, cut a section of it, press the bullet in to where it was almost coming out, then he would hold the tube up with a hollow mandrel he'd put in there. Then he would let it dry so it gripped the bullet, and then he would pour the powder down the hollow mandrel, pull it out, and then he would wet the hide at the top and twist it down in a tight curly cube to compress the powder, and then he'd let that dry, and then he'd cut it off, and he had a little cartridge. He was trying to do it for show, and he'd make up a couple of dozen of them to use in reenactments and things like that to show they'd work. You know, anything is possible given enough time and resources. And this book, if you're wanting to try something historically different, is a very good book. He talks about taking the cases, making the mandrel, and producing the cartridges. Now there's a pretty good picture right there of what one of the finished cartridges looks like. It's tapered so that you can simply put it directly into the case and fire it. The bits of basically the rawhide that don't consume or bloat out usually don't block up much, and so you can load right back on top of it. He does point out that if one piece does manage somehow to plug up a nipple, then you can poke it out, or if barring that it completely plugs up a nipple, you can simply put the cylinder later on into hot water and it will soften the rawhide. Even though it's now dried and everything, it'll rehydrate, become soft, and you can just poke it out then. So it's not going to harm the gun down the line. But he goes into how to make the cartridge. He goes into about the bullets, tips and tricks, casting problems, a lot of good troubleshooting in here, and how these cartridges could also be used in rifles, like a Sharps or something that was a 50-something Sharps that you opened it up and you stuck a cartridge in, you closed it, and it used a musket cap to detonate it. That would work for this. So, if you're looking to add to your library, I would recommend this as a book. I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I'm going to make these or not. I may. It is intriguing to try it out. But since I'm more practical with real world and I'm not trying to do historic reenactment with it, I use paper cartridges and then I use my loading tubes. But if you're wanting to try the historic skin, this is the one you want. Hope you enjoyed this, guys. Please do me a favor and hit that like button before you go. Until next time, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.